Hello and welcome back to the She Lives Purposefully podcast. You guys, I am so excited. What a treat today. I am here not with one, not with two, but with three people on the show today. So much fun. I'm here with my husband, Donny, and then we also have Stefanie and Caleb on the podcast. They were on the show last year. Was it like last June or May, I think? They are so awesome. And I'm just so excited to have you guys back. We're talking about their brand new devotional set. I'm going to hold up our copies. They also have their own different copies. We can talk about that too. um, but we're going to be talking about these devotionals that they created. We have been reading them, praying through them. We love them.
Yeah, they're amazing.
But anyway, you guys, welcome to the show. For those who might not know you, please tell us a little bit about yourselves, who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Wow.
I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, we're so excited to be here. Thank you. We're so honored to be able to talk again and meet Donny.
I know.
And the
He
legend.
was here, yeah,
I
last
know.
time.
He's here.
Didn't catch
And,
that invite.
Yeah. Yeah. So Stefanie and I are relationship mentors, authors, and digital creators, and we help people from singleness to dating to marriage just to have healthy relationships and to just live more wholeheartedly in their lives. And just we want to help them, fix and help whatever hurts they're dealing with to just be able to have a thriving marriage one day. That's what we love. That's what our mission is, and we want to help people whatever stage they're at to be able to live in the best way possible.
I love that. And how we were talking about this actually before we all hopped on. How did you two meet?
Oh,
Hey,
that's a
Well.
good story.
well, how long do we have? So, what was it, like 13, maybe
14, I think it was 14
years
years
ago, I was innocently walking into church one day, and I walk into the sanctuary. It's kind of like a big circle almost. And I look to my left, and there is an angel, my goodness, worshiping God. And I'm like, good Lord, that's it right there. Like, that is it. And I was just, have you guys ever seen the movie Big Fish?
No.
Okay, so Big Fish, there's this moment, and we talk about it. I talk about it in one of our other books, but there's this moment where the main actor, he says, when you meet the love of your life, time stops. And it's this like circus scene, and he sees this girl, and everything else like stops mid-scene, and like the popcorn in the air stops, and like the person juggling stops, and he like goes through this scene to go to talk to her. And I was like, that was like what it was for me. It's like the perfect picture. Look up the scene. It's on like YouTube.
Yeah.
Anyways, and I was like, yes. And so I asked one of my friends, I was like, who is that? And she's like, that's Steph Stack. And I was like, we need to get to know Steph Stack. Anyways, I went to we had like this young adult hangout after church, and we
Like coffee shop, live music.
Yeah.
It was cool.
nice.
Oh, this is a cool
Yeah.
hangout. Okay.
Yeah.
Really cool, like LA, like very like indoor,
Yes.
outdoor, very cool, fun
Yeah.
thing. It attached to the church. It was awesome.
Yeah.
The best young adult.
Yeah, it was
Ministry.
amazing. And I went up to talk to her. Some dude walked up, threw his arm around her, and gave me this stank face, like, bro, if you touch my property, I will shoot you. And I was like, okay, man, it's church, calm down. And I was like, hi, and then kind of left because I thought she basically was married to this person for 50 years. And unbeknownst to me, that was like, we had
only gone on one date, but I didn't realize, like, I wish I would have seen that, because that big red flag, because that guy, it wasn't like we were even official. It was just one date with him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So
Totally.
then God made me wait a year. And I tell my clients this a lot of like, I met Stefanie, and now I had a very clear picture of what dream girl was going to be like, what the quality of woman I wanted to marry. And so literally I spent that whole year, I was like, I am not ready to date somebody like that. So like, I better get it together. And really focused like on my relationship with God, like growing just as a person in every way I possibly could, and just to be more prepared. Maybe she's going to be married, but if that's the quality of person I want to be with. And God just prepared me that year, and about a year later, almost to the day, again, walked into church, and I had been like cordial with her, like we would say hi and stuff, even though I was obsessed. And we never really talked, and she just came up and started talking to me, and I'm like, what is going on? And we talked, and she walked away, and then my friend said, like Stephanie's single now. And I'm like, what? News to me. And then I froze up, but God worked it out. I don't want to go like forever and ever on this story, but anyways,
awesome.
We started getting hangouts, and I asked her out, and the rest is history.
So sweet, you guys. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love too, just like Stefanie, how you're glowing as he tells it. It's so sweet. I remember too.
Blushing.
Yeah, no, I love that's so sweet.
It's so funny just how because I went out to LA, didn't know anyone, was going to different churches because I'm like, I want to put my time into doing good things, on the weekends. So I was going to several different churches, and because I didn't know any, like literally moved from Pittsburgh all the way to LA and to get my master's in marriage and family therapy. And then I saw him at church, and I thought he was so cute. Obviously didn't know all the whole back end stuff. I mean, I could tell he was into me because it was really obvious.
I wasn't hiding it. I wasn't hiding it.
I was like, he's so cute and tall and humble. Like it was just it was like he didn't play any game. Like it wasn't
it was clear.
He wasn't trying to be like play cool or anything.
Yeah.
Playing it cool is not in my DNA.
Yeah,
so.
But you also he didn't tell me, like, he wasn't like, oh my gosh, you're the one for me. Like he didn't say anything weird that whole time.
Right.
He was really respectful. It wasn't like creepy at all. Like I had no clue. Like he kept it to himself, which is good, because the guys that are like, oh yeah, God told me I'm gonna marry you. Like,
like first date, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Didn't tell me that. Yeah.
But then when we started dating, it was God's perfect timing for both of us.
Yeah.
Just that year that God was working on both our hearts, and then preparing us to be able to date in a way that was so different than I think we would have if we would have just started dating that year before. So I'm so grateful for his timing. And just I tell my girl clients my women clients, I'm like, hey, if you're waiting for someone, but you're waiting and you're praying, just like really trusting God's timing and growing as much as you can, because when God wants to move, sometimes he can move really quick, but it's when we're ready and we're prepared. And so God did move quick after that, because we were both in a place and willing to receive the good gift that he had for us. So
I love that.
How old were you guys?
How old are we? Well,
how old were you when you met?
When all this was happening?
I was like, man, no.
Caleb has like partial deafness in this ear, so there's certain times that he's most of the time good hearing everything. But
what? No. 20s, mid late 20s, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, when we first met, I think I was like mid 24. You were 25.
Cool.
Yeah, something like that.
How old were you guys?
Or when we met?
How did you meet? I didn't.
Yeah, how did you guys meet?
You probably told the story before. You don't have to. I wanted to know.
No, I don't know. Yeah, we met in high school.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But we didn't start dating in high school.
Yeah. So we went to the same small Christian high school. Her mom was actually my Spanish teacher.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And
that's really cool.
It was like 10th grade. So she's a year younger than me. So she was in 9th grade. And I noticed her, like, because 9th and 10th graders had lunch together. And I was like, oh, who's that? And then our Christian school it's called banquet.
Instead of prom,
because there's no dancing.
Yes.
It's a little more strict.
Yeah.
I know this. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so 11th and 12th graders could go to banquet. And so I went up to her mom's classroom to ask if I could take Megan to banquet. I was turned down.
You said no.
No, Donny.
And I said, all right, cool.
Her reasoning was I was too young. Like she didn't want me to go if I wasn't in 11th and 12th grade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a year later, I came back. I was in 12th grade. She was in 11th grade. And I was like, can I take her to banquet? I got the okay this time.
Let's go.
So you had a good year too.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You wait.
I was like 17 though, a little different.
We'll make a support group for 1 year waits.
For the waiters, yeah.
But then so we knew we liked each other. I was graduating though and going to college out of state, went to school in Virginia. So we never officially dated. We kind of like, I don't know, we liked each other, but then I went away and then it kind of dissipated a little bit.
Yeah.
But every time I'd come back home for Christmas or any one of the breaks, I'd see her at Young Adults. And I was like, oh man, that Megan Holmes, like I get tripped up. And so then I graduated. We both dated different people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come back home and we meet each other randomly in a Starbucks.
Let's go.
And that kind of kicked things off.
Yeah, he was working on something. You were getting like a certificate for school or something.
Yeah.
I was working on She Lives Purposefully. So we kept like working at Starbuckses, and there's several, they're everywhere. But we kept ending up at the same ones and like bumping into each other a couple times. So I think there was one point too, we were at the same one and there was only one table and I was at it and it's like the tiniest table. And I was like, no, there's room. And I literally had my laptop like on my lap, like trying to make room.
That's amazing.
But then, we reconnected.
Yeah.
Like meet in the coffee shop. The lover from my past.
It was, but that was a long process. So that was like from 9th grade to 10th grade or whatever to
like 2 years after college.
Yeah. So I was like 24. Yeah. Probably around the same age. Like, So I'm 30 now. But we've been married for 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. Whew.
Go.
I was like, wait.
Got that right.
That's amazing.
But anyway, that's our story.
That's how we met. Yeah.
Let's go.
Sweet.
But yeah, common denominator seems like church, young adults.
Waiting at least a year.
And then I went to a Christian school where my mom and dad were teachers. My dad was an administrator, and we had banquet. When I was freshman and sophomore, it was called JS. And so it was junior senior banquet. And so they called it JS to make it sound cool. And then like there would be parents would like sponsor a dance after the banquet that wasn't associated with the school.
So funny.
I think my junior year was the first year we ever had prom. So I was like a prom person.
Wow.
The first time, but there was always JS before that. Anyways, I resonate with all that. Yeah, me too. Man.
Oh,
I was all the way in Pittsburgh. You were in LA, but that's so cute, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. No, I love it. I love origin stories. So cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh my gosh. Well, now you guys are married and you're literally like coaching people in their relationships, mentoring people, and you've written more than this, but we're going to talk about this today. These devotionals, like I said, we have loved them. And so what it is, just for if you're not watching on Spotify or YouTube, it is 52 prayers. There's 2 different devotionals, so each one's 52. And one is for my husband, one is for my wife. And so it's basically a prayer for like every week, but there's so much more in it. There's like the little story, and then there's also love in action. And first, just talking about prayer, I would love if you guys could answer. It might seem like a silly question, but I do think it's actually a really good reminder. Why is praying for your spouse important?
Yeah, I think that's such a good question. The motivation, the why behind it, and getting, to us, it's communicating with God and getting, talking to our Father in heaven and just having that direct line of communication. They were saying at church the other day that prayer and worship, it changes our location in a way. It's like we are in God's presence and we're connected to him and his presence. And in praying, I think there's so much energy we can put into different things in marriage and in life. But when we put energy and our time and our thoughts into prayer, we've just seen major things shift in our life, in our marriage, in ways that, just praying for Caleb for things, praying to God about Caleb and seeing God do things in Caleb's life that I couldn't do, and that I wanted for him because I love him so much, and I wanted him to feel fully alive in Christ, and different things that, you know, sharing different prayers and different stories of how God has worked and how he moves and how we can partner with him, and how there's this, there's a spiritual battle that we are in, and it's the scripture, like, we do not it's not a battle against flesh and blood, and how so often in marriage it can feel like that battle against flesh and blood, and we've been there, like we have felt that, and then it's like, you're the enemy, no, you're the enemy, like, you're against me, no, you're against me, and feeling that tension, but fighting the right enemy in the right way. And I believe prayer, and like specifically, like, a lot of this book is, praying God's word, promises that God has shared, or just things in his word that of identity and truth and integrity that we get to pray over one another is so powerful. And it also shifts the way we see our spouse. Like, when I pray for him every morning and I thank God for him, and I recount how God's been faithful, just even telling our origin stories, like recounting how God has done a miracle to bring two people together, and how grateful that when we're going through life and going quick, that it can be easy to forget those things. So for us, prayer not only is so powerful in connecting us to God, but really has connected us to each other, and we've seen so many things happen in our marriage because of it. So it's something that we are so passionate about because of that.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's so good. I loved too one part you said, especially where it's like, you, in praying, you can see different things change in your marriage and your spouse that you couldn't do. And I think it's so powerful because it is this idea of like, whatever it could be, like it could be big things or smaller quote unquote things, but everything is like important. But we can't control the situation. We can't control a marriage. We can't control a person, a spouse, whoever it is. But we can bring those things to God. And God is just like you are, like you love that person so much. God loves them even more. And he actually can really like change a person, a situation, whatever. And so I love that you brought that up, where it's like, just bringing them before someone who can move in ways that we can't. So that's really beautiful. I love that.
I was gonna say, like, I think it's also just a very practical thing that everybody can do. Like, there's so many things you can't control, like you were saying, in your marriage, and you can't control your spouse, and you can't control like all the hectic things that can hit you, but like, you can do that, and you can do that on your own, and that's something you can do every single day. You can do it on a walk, you can do it at home, you can do it, like, thankfully we have access to God at all time. Like, that's such a beautiful thing, but it's something you can start now. Like, you can start at any point. There's no like barrier to entry. You get to just go to God, and you get to do that, instead of like, oh, my spouse doesn't want to do this with me, or they don't want, like, you can just start and like be in prayer over them, and you can watch God begin to move as you begin to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. That's actually something that I was going to bring up too, is encouragement for maybe the woman listening who is like, oh, this sounds cool. Like, I would love to, do like a duo devo thing with my husband where we're praying for each other. But I just know that he wouldn't want to do this for whatever reason. And just encouragement for that woman. So it's really, encouraging, I'm sure, to hear. It's like, you can do this. You can do it right now. You have access to the Lord right now, and you can do it literally wherever, on your commute, on a walk, whatever it is. But do you have more encouragement maybe for that woman just in her marriage who is like, I want to do this. I want to work on my marriage this way, but my husband, I just know wouldn't be about it.
Yeah. Do you mind if I share something? I was just gonna say, like, I'm living proof of a praying wife's like prayer being effective. And like, I was the husband that was not wanting to spend time in like God's word or going through like a prayer book. And I was the one not wanting to do some of those things. Like, I always had such a foundation in God, but like, I just kind of was good at that level. Like, I didn't want to go deeper. And so Stefanie would like pray for me and pray for me and pray for me and encourage me, and want me, so like desired for me to go deeper with her. And like, over time, God began to soften my heart, and he began to open that door. And then I was like, yeah, I want to dive into this. And now, it's a daily habit for me. It's every part. Like, I cannot function. I don't know how I function as a person without going to God's word first every single day. Like, I cannot do it. And so I'm living proof of that. So if you're just like, oh man, like, I don't know if my husband go for it, like, you don't limit God by like your beliefs of something. Like, allow God to move, and all you have to do is walk in obedience and just be like, God, this is my desire, this is my heart. Like, there's so many scriptures that like we ask God for the desires of heart, and he like gives them to us. And so I think like starting there and starting with God and watching him move and not limit what he can do, just go to him and allow him to work in that. And we've seen that in our marriage make such a big impact. And I would just encourage them, and you can just start now. Don't worry about like stressing over, is it ever going to happen? Like, there's never a better opportunity than right now than just to start and go for it.
Yeah, I love that so much. And that feeling that I would encourage a wife, that you get to something in prayer, you get to let go of the grip of control.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have told younger Stephanie that, because I prayed a lot for him, but then I also nagged a lot. I wish I could have, God used it all for his glory. But
cannot relate personally, so no, I'm kidding. No, yeah, I agree. I love that.
Yeah, I wish I could just talk to myself and be like, hey, there was so much I just talked to God about, but I wish I would have even taken more to God and less to Caleb, in terms of things that God was already in the midst of working on and doing, and just trusting God in that. And that grip that I just want to hold on and control, like that being released in prayer of like, God, I trust you with my husband. I trust you in these areas, versus it's like talks about a nagging wife like a dripping faucet, or like it would.
I just read that in Proverbs. Yeah.
It's so convicting every time I read it. It's like, it's better to live in a corner of a roof than to be with a nagging wife. And I'm like, how many times did I and have I and can, like nag, or when I just need to take it to God. And the times that I do not nag and I take things to God, it brings me so much peace. That control grip is so lifted. And so to me, it's like, focus on, for any wife listening, or if even like a man's listening, like, hey, my wife's not, but probably women listening are like, hey, who can you control? It's like, we only can control ourselves. And what,
so good,
we can't control our husbands, but like you mentioned, like, God, we can talk and communicate to God. And you were saying any day, anytime, anyway. Like, when I was realizing different even moments, like some of the calls to action are things, like pretty much all of them are things I did or do like pretty often, that just really have blessed our marriage, and taking that control off while getting to bless him, focus on the pure, holy, excellent, praiseworthy things. So that's what I would say. Don't give up on praying. And if it just feels too discouraging, it's like, then you really desperately, like, now is the time. And that the enemy's out to get marriages. Like, he is out, he hates marriages, and he wants to destroy them. And I was thinking about like Jehoshaphat in the Bible. I'm probably saying his name right or wrong. But
no, I think it's right.
But it's in Second Chronicles, and there's this army coming against them, and he's like, I don't know what to do. He said, we do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you, God. And then God ultimately tells them to not do anything, and that he's going to take care of it. And it says, like, a huge army came against Judah. Jehoshaphat was afraid, and he turned to God, and he put the worshipers in the front of the line, and God ultimately destroyed, like, he took down they didn't even have to like lift their sword. And I think sometimes in marriage, we need to know that sometimes we're lifting swords, that God's saying, I want you to pray, I want you to worship, I want you to fast for your husband. So instead of picking up that sword to fight him, let me be the one to do that. And so that's just such an encouragement to me, and to hopefully any other wife listening.
Oh, so good. Yeah. I feel like, no, what were you gonna say?
No, I think when we're talking about praying, I've just, in full transparency, like reading through like the the book here, I've realized kind of how flat my prayers, like my prayer life for my wife has been in terms of like, because usually it's like, oh Lord, like help her, strengthen her today. I know she hasn't gotten a lot of sleep. Like help little Donnie, be easy on her, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like, the richness of the kinds of prayers that you guys lay out. Well, I've only read this one. Sorry, Steph. The richness of the prayers and the things like praying for her dreams, praying for healing for past wounds, praying for developing her spiritual, like all these things to pray for. I'm like, man, I need to be praying better prayers, like like more specific, more targeted, and I think that was a really beautiful part of going through this is just all the different ways that I had not been praying for you, but I should be praying for you. So yeah, just in terms of people who want to be praying for their spouse more, and or maybe like there may be like me, you're kind of just praying one way or for one thing, but there's so many different ways that you can be praying for her and encouraging her, and yeah, to me that was a big thing that stuck out reading this. Has just been there's so many different ways to pray for your spouse, and and just the power of that. So yeah, it's been great going through it. And you mentioned the stories too from your own life. I feel like that really drew me in, because you guys kind of have a prayer for this, and then the Bible verse, and then a story, and yeah, you like you guys were sharing different things from your life, and the vulnerable stuff, the hard stuff. Like I was amazed by that too. Like just all the different ways that you've seen God work in the good and in the bad. Anyway, that I feel like drawing that in makes me get to know you guys more, like shows an example of that in a powerful way. And then there's the call to action, or like the love in action part. But anyway, yeah, just in terms of prayer and prayer life, like I feel like I would have thought before reading this, I was like, yeah, no, I'm praying the right things or whatever, but this really opened my eyes. So yeah, great, really great stuff.
Blessing to
so much, Donnie.
Yeah.
Lifted up and encouraged by that. I'm just so blessed. And that was our prayer. And that in praying that way, even you're thinking of, like, when we think of our spouse, in not just, sometimes we can get stuck in roles and like we're just kind of doing our daily thing, but when you are praying those things to, like, it expands, I feel like, the love we can have, or compassion we have, or seeing each other more, and gratitude. That was like our prayer.
Yeah, it for sure was like that. So I think like you said, you kind of get stuck in this daily rhythm, and but this, it's good to kind of get broken out of that and realize all these different, have your mind expanded and your heart expanded in different ways. But
no, I love that, like you said, because it's like, okay, yeah, I pray for my spouse, but here's so many ways that I can be praying even more and deeper. And two, like you were mentioning, Stefanie, where in praying these things, praying for, even I think I don't know if it's on the guy's side too, but on the girl's side, just like the gifts that you see and the things that he's good at, and praying. And I think it really does, even, you're already so in love with your spouse, but like you begin to like have to think through and point out these good and like great things about the person. And it is a cool way where it's like you're praying and you feel more connected from that, but also like remembering all these awesome things, and you're just like falling more and more in love with them, like through prayer and through thinking of these things, which is really, really cool. And like you said too, which I don't know, like how, I haven't really thought through how to dive into this, but I just think it's important to at least bring up again. It's so important to be praying, to be thinking highly of your spouse, because Satan hates marriage, like you said, and he is out to get marriage. And I just, again, I don't know if we want to dive into that or not, but just like reiterating that the devil really wants to attack your marriage. And it's important to remember, like, the enemy is not in a fight or whatever. Like, the enemy is not your spouse. The enemy is the one who's trying to separate you, or, at least make you complacent or stir strife or whatever it may be. And he really does hate marriage, because marriage is also like an example of Christ and the church. And, it's just so deep and profound. And, so I just feel like that's an important reminder for everyone who is married and even who's not married too.
I agree. And I think about that two people coming together in unity, iron sharpens iron, and seeing each other through God's eyes, pushing each other more to the God-given purpose that each of them have, and encouraging and lifting each other up. Not that it's going to ever be perfection on this side, until heaven, but that there would be so much love, like that pushes, I believe, people so, like, it allows people to open up and be more of who God called them to be. And like you said, this example of Christ and the church, and like really people can look at that and say, like, can see God through, I think, a marriage like that. But of course he would want to take people down, because it's like I say that a lot of times, like, relationships, your closest ones, can be the closest thing to heaven or hell we experience on this earth. And a good, healthy one is, and when we're having a good, like, flow, it can be like heaven on earth. And then if your relationship is hard, it feels like hell. Everything else could be going right, but if your relationship is hurting and it can feel like hell on earth. But if your relationship is good, you can get through any storm. And it's good or bad depends on, like, good or hard really depends, I think, on the perspective and how the cycles that we can get in with each other, and seeing each other as the enemies, that the enemy would love that. He just wants us to be stuck in that cycle that we do sometimes get into, but God's equipped us to know how to get out of it quicker and be able to be in peace longer, so we can have that place and encourage and be uplifting, versus like tearing and hurting each other, tearing apart.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. I also was wondering too, I wanted to ask just about the books, kind of in going off of what we were talking about, the different prayers and it deepening our prayer life for each other. You guys made 2 different devos, one for the wife and one for the husband. And I just, was wondering if you could, I guess, talk about why you decided to do that. Maybe instead of, one devo that both couples read the same prayers, go through the same like stories, everything like that. Why? And I think it's a great idea, but just kind of like to elaborate on that.
Right. Yeah, we wanted, that's something we have thought about. We'd love down the road to have one that, it could be together, but we really want it to be a place that we work with so many different clients that aren't on the same page spiritually. And so we wanted it to be a place, thinking of all the people that we love that could just pick this up, either just the man or just the woman, or both of them together. But even if it was just one, knowing the power of just one person praying can shift everything. And like he said, we're living proof of that. And there's times where his prayers totally changed my life. And so and then we also did a call to action that they could do together, and then one that could just do separate, and you don't have to do both, of just empowering that to not feel this sense of control, not like you have to do this, you have to do, like, this sense of, we didn't want to create any nagging or feeling like, oh, you have to do this, versus like, hey, let me take accountability for what I do have control over. And even if someone else isn't, my spouse isn't willing to do this with me, I can still I can fully do this. And one person could change everything, because the two become one, but then one person's actions and how they're thinking and how they're responding does play a big part in how the whole marriage can go. And so that's really why we wanted to do both. And it was really fun to get to share different stories. Like for mine, all from a wife's perspective, and his, we didn't even read each other's till after, because
I was wondering.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, we would talk about like different stories, because we would always like, we would be writing in the same room a lot of times, and then be like trying to think back. And then it was fun how the Holy Spirit would like pop up a memory that I hadn't thought about, or he hadn't thought about in years. That then was like, oh my gosh, this is like so perfect for this, that we kept being like, God, bring up, we want to write with you and write the stories you want us to write. And so it was fun doing it together. But then fully reading each other's after we got the copies, that we switched copies and read each other. So that was really fun.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, too, I think with like the husband and the wife books, like for Caleb, I feel like you're a husband, you've gone through this, and it's, I don't know, like man to man, it just feels like there's more weight to it in
Yeah.
terms of like you're in my shoes as a husband, trying to be a leader in your family, and then like just the different stories you share, like to relate to that. Um, like the basketball thing, and like
Yeah.
everything that happened with that chapter of your life. Like I don't know, some of those struggles that you share kind of draw me in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, I feel like, another powerful thing with
Yeah.
having the wife and the husband book.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's
So
able to
cool.
speak to you directly.
Different struggles that maybe you'd be able to relate to more. And
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's like really good feedback too, because you want it to land with somebody because you're sharing these stories. And I wanted to share as many ways that I've like messed up, like that I've done something wrong or done something stupid. And then tried to like turn it around, or like a way that, is encouraging. Because I realize that we're not all perfect, and like there's like so many
relatable.
stories
Yeah.
of like, I know I'm not perfect. And there's so many stories of like things where, I almost burn our house down, or, whatever it is.
Yeah,
and
we
like,
don't have any fire at our
yeah,
house for
no
a
more.
reason. No candles. No, all fake. All fake candles. All fake everything.
Yeah.
Daggers to my heart. No, but yeah, I think it's really good. Like when guys are taking that step to do something like that, because sometimes guys can be resistant. I think like having a way that they can connect, I think, is really, really powerful. And I was going to say also, like for the women out there, like just be inviting them into that time, whatever that looks like. Sometimes your husband just needs to know he's invited. Maybe it's not like a force thing, but like he's invited into your, love and action. If you're saying like whatever the love and action is for that week, like invite them into that, or find a way to not be like, the book says to go do this. Like just go say it, like, and try to make it something that you can do together, and invite them into that. I think sometimes men can be like arm's length if they feel like they're having to do something, whereas like I'm invited into this time, and I get to like do this alongside of you. You want to do this with me, or hey, you're like, what are you working on? Like that sounds cool. I think also like when we see how praying every day changes our spouse, like we want to be more a part of that. And so I think that's another way that it shifts the atmosphere.
I love the invitation versus like control, or not with an invitation without expectation.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to be invited?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be invited.
Yeah. But I think where the trouble comes is when the woman has an expectation that it will definitely be met, and then they're really disappointed, versus like, okay, that expectation just coming from a place of, depending on where your husband's at, working with women that like their husband is like really not, but that even little invitations that they could do, or, some of those things are just, that doesn't seem like force, but at all, but hey, like just wanting to listen, or when they're listening, that you're asking more questions. And so I like invitations without expectation.
And then like little baby steps, right? Like just knowing that like small steps in a direction, like get things going and get it going and going. Like you can't just go sprint a mile. Some people can sprint a mile, but like you have to build up. And so like a husband or a wife or whatever it is, like just small steps every day can really get the momentum going. And if the husband is feeling like he's winning in this, he'll want to be more a part of it. Like we have this like hero mentality as husbands. Like we want to be our wife's hero. And so like if he does do it with you, if he does do something, like encourage him in that, because then he's going to be like, oh, wow, like, okay, like I want to do that again. Like I want to save the day. I want to get the princess from the castle. Like I'll do it. I'll keep doing it. She likes when I do that. And so
we were just talking about that example. Yeah.
So like that invitation, and then just like encouragement, and then just baby steps. Like it's not all going to be solved in a day. Your husband's not going to be like a warrior prayer right off the bat. Like it's just like baby steps, and understanding that encouragement is so good.
Yeah. And I kind of like, you have like a prayer for a whole week, so it's like one thing to chew on for a whole week. It's not like throwing all these prayers at you like, every day or something like that. So it's a nice pace that way.
I liked that too, because I think it really allows you to dwell on that prayer and really like think through. And then I think also maybe the next week or following few weeks, because you were praying something for a whole week, you're more inclined to like remember that and then like add that instead of, skip to some, not skip, but like, have that also in addition to the new prayer, where I think I am like so easy to forget so many things. Like sometimes, I'm even reading my Bible and I'm like, I don't remember what I read this morning, so to have like a prayer for a week, I think is really, I agree, like really awesome.
Get to chew on it.
Love that. I love that you guys like that, because that's, as we read them to pray, like we've been reading them to pray for each other, and I love just staying on that prayer and praying it every day that week. So like the goal is hopefully it's, you're praying through this book every day all through the year, but you're taking each week, and like you said, or even praying part, or you don't have to do the love in action, like, it's not so overwhelming. Like it feels like you can, like one of the calls to action, like that I try to do, I'm like, okay, I have this week, and like, what's a good day to do it? If it's something that's like a little bit more intentional, that you don't have to feel so overwhelmed, like I have to do this day and this day. It's just like, okay, these little things. And like you said, and even how God can answer prayers, because like I remember like specifically praying, there was a week I was like really praying for his friendships that was in this book, and then seeing God answer a prayer, like very specific prayer I was praying within that, and it was like the next week. But if I had just prayed it one day, I might forget, like you said, Megan. But it's like a whole week, I'm like, oh my gosh, God, look at what you did in this way that I was praying for.
That's so good. Yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome. And I feel like just in talking all about this, it's like such a good reminder that prayer really is powerful and it really does make an impact. And so it is crazy that we actually get to pray for our spouse, for, like you were saying, the dreams, or like you're saying, friendship, or whatever it is. So powerful that we get to do that. And this has just been really cool to be able to go through these devos. Do you guys have like favorite parts of the devo that you have put, like a favorite like week or something like that? Or are they, I mean, maybe all equal too, but is there one that you remember like specifically that you're like, oh, I really love this one?
I don't have my actual copy that I go through in front of me right now, so I'm like, I was just reading it, but anyway, there it is.
I'm like, you didn't memorize every single word.
I knew it was in the 20s, but it's week 28, and it's just my favorite story. Like when I read this story, I almost like tear up all the time. But it's like Tag You're It, and it's a story of us like in this park in St. Louis, and just this quality time, because like we were on a work trip and we were working for the city of St. Louis, and then we were in a park and we were just standing there, and then Stephanie just like smacks my arm and says, "You're it," and takes off up the mountain, like up the hill. And Forest Park's like huge. You guys ever been to Forest Park? In St. Louis?
No.
It's like crazy big. It's crazy. Anyways, and she takes up this like lawn. I'm like, okay, it's on. And then I mentioned that I like powered my legs like Sonic the Hedgehog and took off. That moment is like etched in my memory. So like I love that story. And so whenever I read that, I just like, it takes me right back there. And then being able to pray over like intentionality, and it just for me hits home of like those moments of like just pure intentionality together, that we got these quality time, like really stand out to me, and how important that is to me. And so it makes me just like cherish that. And then the love in action is, spend some quality time together in a way that fills you both. Plan to make this part of your routine. And so like just finding a way to just spend intentional quality time together. I love that one. I read that last week or something like that, and I just was like, it took me right back there. It was like a movie. So
that's sweet. That's so sweet.
I remember reading that. It was a really fun story, and I think that's a great thing to highlight. So it's not like all heavy things, or like light things, like lighthearted, that joy, that playfulness. Like it's a beautiful story.
Yeah. Do you have one?
Oh, they're so I like a lot of them. The one I opened up to was week 50, and the scripture is, do everything without complaining and arguing, so that no one can criticize you. Live clean, innocent lives as children of God, shining like bright lights. Philippians 2:14-15. And this story, so Caleb and I, my my grandma passed away, and so but his parents sent these like beautiful bouquets that we took in our car. They were like really big and vases, and when we were driving, the vase fell over and the water like spilled all over our car. Uh, and like flower water smells like horrible. And so then, Caleb said, okay, I'll clean that up when we get home. And we were leaving for a trip like the next day to Nashville that we had planned.
I didn't do it.
And he
That
forgot.
would be me. Yeah, I would
Yikes.
forget.
Yikes. And honestly, I just did that again recently. It was something else. Like I think I had mulch. I got mulch in the car, and the mulch was in the rain because it rains all the time in Pittsburgh, and it got water in the car and it stank. And I'm like, oh no, not this again. Anyways, I mess up all the time. It's not like a thing.
You're amazing. But it was interesting. I had this Post-it note that God had like really convicted me of. And I felt like God was saying, do not say or think anything negative about Caleb. And I had it on this journal, and God was convicting my heart so much on that drive. Do not open your mouth. Because I was mourning the loss. So like when you're going through the stages of grief, and there was like anger, and then like God was so much like, do not open your mouth. And I remember on the way home, and how he's like, oh, it doesn't even smell. And I just kept silent. I'm like, it smelled horrible to me. But I just was like, and I was just holding my lips like closed. No, like, but it's interesting that it started. I mean, obviously, probably I was getting used to it or something, but it was like this scent of complaint has a stink to it, when we complain. And the spirit of gratitude literally can fill a room, like the aroma of gratitude, and it can change things. And God's so adamant about us giving thanks in all situations and giving thanks and holding that complaint. And it would have been so easy to just ruin the trip with that. But I remember just like it being a really peaceful ride home. And then it was like God cleared the stink out. And it was just kind of like, it just kind of felt like a cool little tiny miracle that he did in my heart, in our relationship, but also in the car.
Yes, it was a miracle. Thank you, Jesus. That's like living proof that like God has my back.
Yeah.
He's like, I got you, Caleb. Like, I got you, bro.
I love it.
Send a message, Stephanie. Stop. Don't say anything. Don't complain.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then the love in action is set aside time daily to appreciate. To tell each other what you appreciate about each other for it together, or practice a complaint-free attitude. Instead of voicing complaints, tell your husband what you're grateful for. And that shift, like literally doing that and feeling that and just calling forth good things. Like I remember like, thank you so much for driving for us because I wasn't driving, or thank you so much for getting the gas, or thank you for grabbing that. Like when you're on the road trip, there's a million things you could thank your spouse for. So I remember doing that and it changing things. So encouraging people in that way, I'm like, knowing, I just love that. And it's a good reminder for me of like, okay, I want to live in that way.
No, love and action section's super pretty on that one. I didn't even realize that. It looks good.
Little on the woman's
looks like very elegant on hers.
Anyways, I don't know if it's the same with yours,
but they did a good job.
Yeah.
So cool. It's really cool. Yeah. Did we explain the difference between our copies yet too? No. All right. So Donny and I have, it's like, I guess like a travel on the go version that you can get. You guys were saying at like airports or different things like that. And then you guys have what somebody would get on like Amazon or something.
Right.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
You guys.
Sorry, I need to hold mine.
There you go.
That's the thing. And so like, yes, this is what you would see on like Amazon if you looked up, 52 prayers for your wife or 52 prayers for your husband. You would see this like black leather and the pink leather copies.
And it's really cute. It has the keep on praying in the back, which is really cool.
I love it. That's so beautiful. So beautiful. Oh
I
my
couldn't
God.
have asked for a cooler like
I was gonna
men's
say.
version. I love this version.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really cool.
Get you guys these copies.
We might have to get that too. I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. But those ones are great too. And yes, they are at like those different kiosks. So if you're at the airport and you see a little like Christian book kiosk, look for our books.
Yeah,
I love it.
such a good like grab and go gift too, like for a friend or a couple,
Yeah.
or just like you stay at a couple's house and grab and go, something.
Yeah.
That was kind of the hope too. That would be a cool like wedding gift, or just like to any couple you want to encourage or bless, that such a good foundation, or an anniversary or whatever. That
totally
cool gift
Yeah.
sets.
I
We
know.
were just saying that. I think last night I was like, "Oh man, this would be such a good wedding gift."
Yeah.
For newlywed, I wish I had it a few years ago.
Yeah. Me too.
But-
I wish I had it.
It is like
Seriously,
wedding season, so
It is
the era spring
right.
to like
spring.
the
love it
next
in the-
half year.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Spring into it with your Easter colored devotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Your
it.
man one.
That's awesome.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh. This was so awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So I'm sure everywhere, but where can people snag this book? And also where can people find you guys?
Yeah. So anywhere books are sold, I believe they have it. If you look up 52 prayers for my husband or 52 prayers for my wife, it's on our website, Stefanie and Caleb.com. It's Stefanie with an F. We have all our resources there, like different books that we've written, and different free resources, different things that we share about on there. And then our Instagram, it's Caleb at Caleb Jason Rouse for his, and at Stefanie.Rouse, that we post a lot of content and prayers and encouragement on there too.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'll be sure to link it in the show notes too. Yeah, you guys, this was so encouraging and sweet, and just made us smiley the whole time. It's so fun to chat. Yeah, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Honored. This was so fun. I'm so glad Donny could be.
Donny.
Too. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's such a blessing talking with you guys and reading your stories and hearing about your life.